Corey, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here.
Just as we were about to start, you told me that you have read The Alchemist.
Yeah.
How long ago did you read that?
So I was reading it during my last fight camp, so that would have been just probably like 2 months ago now. And yeah, it was given to me by Alan, my coach. So it was not only a sentimental gift, but also a good read afterwards. So yeah.
What did you take away from that book?
I think really just like following your purpose in life and finding the reason for why we wake up every day, I guess. And the reason the book affected me so much was because it was at a real pivotal point in my life where I was transitioning quite big from either choosing to keep my regular job or to go all in on MMA. So I feel like that book really helped me make that decision from then, yeah.
Yeah, the book's really deep. Like, I guess the story in itself is quite simple, but
Yeah.
I think it's one of those stories that can really make you reflect about, like, I guess what the real source of happiness is that we're all kind of looking for. I think
Yeah,
sometimes in life we can get misguided and we try and search all these different things that don't really fulfill us.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I would love to hear about your background and your story. So how did you first get into martial arts to begin with?
So I got into it from a friend, like a lot of people do. So I was living in Port Pirie at the time where I grew up, and me and him grew up there together, best mates all through high school. He started first, just doing jiu-jitsu in someone's back shed, like it is in most country towns. And he was like, yeah, come along one day, mate. It was like I remember my first session, it was just literally just open mat. And as most people experience, you just get absolutely ragdolled for the 2 hours that we do it for in a hot summer shed. So
You end up finding out why that friend was so keen on you coming to try it out.
That's it. Yeah. He wanted to show me all the cool moves that he knew that I did not know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember he said to me, but like we drove there together. He came and picked me up, and he's like, yeah, like either people come and they either leave feeling one of two ways. They either hate it and never come back, or they're like, oh wow, that was awesome, and then they just keep coming every time. So obviously here we are today. I thought it was pretty cool, so I decided to keep going, and now we're here. Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
So that was like jiu-jitsu. That was like 6 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, between that 6 years, like I've had time off in between now and then. But yeah, 6 years ago was probably like my first introduction into martial arts.
And you obviously are very into MMA as well.
Yeah.
What was that transition from jiu-jitsu into mixed martial arts like for you?
It was kind of like a quick change where like I was doing jiu-jitsu for a few years and then on and off, kind of like just training once a week, maybe twice a week when I could. And then I would always, when I started training in Adelaide, they had at CardioFlex, they had the striking classes on, like after the jiu-jitsu class or before the jiu-jitsu class. I'd always obviously see the guys hitting pads and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, that looks kind of interesting, but never really took that leap. And then again, as it is, like you get pressured into, oh come on, jump in. And then I remember I did one beginner class with Ike, and I think from that day on, I was just like at the gym 5-7 days a week, just doing the striking classes as well. So
Yeah, awesome.
and then just over time, I guess the idea of doing MMA just kind of, why just do one? Like I was training everything, so I guess I'm training MMA.
Yeah, for sure. Were you into the sport of MMA as well during this at all?
Nah, not at all. Like that same friend who got me into jiu-jitsu, he was the MMA guy in the friend group. He was the guru. He was the guy who knew all the fighters. I think I forget what fight it was, but the first UFC fight I honestly ever watched, not even aware that this was the UFC or what it was I forget who it was, but it was Cowboy Cerrone, that fight when he like blew his nose and his eye. I forget who he versed, but I just remember that being like the first fight I watched, which honestly, when you look back, is not that long ago. So I remember that was when I first got into it. But yeah, at this point, I was just training for the fitness and the fun aspect of it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned in The Alchemist that you obviously made a bit of a pivotal kind of like career shift recently.
Yeah.
I'd love to like maybe dig into like maybe the start of your career pre-MMA and like knowing that you'd want to kind of like follow this path.
Yeah.
What were you doing beforehand?
So before MMA, I was landscaping. So I worked for a landscaping company down at Seaford, and we did a bunch of cool stuff. Like I loved the job. It was really creative in the way that we got to, just take a blank slate and just do everything. Like, we would build decks, we would do the gardening, we'd do the irrigation, we'd plan it, design it, really make that person's what they wanted in their backyard come to life. So it was a really rewarding job. Obviously a hard job that, pretty manual labor intense. But yeah, I was doing that for about 4.5 years before I quit and now do MMA. And before that, I've had really only 2 other jobs. I worked at Derrimates for a while, just the gym, weightlifting gym, just as the front desk. And my first job was just like general labour hand on work sites and stuff. So yeah, I've kind of been in that manual labour, fitness industry kind of my whole life to a degree. But yeah, now fully committed to MMA. And this is where I plan to, I guess, for the foreseeable future, I guess, as well, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, I find it interesting because I think, when I first met you, you maybe just had done some PT or like had just been in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that you've found your own version of like being a coach.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because I think a lot of people sometimes maybe they find the start of something like that, but maybe the way it's presented to them doesn't quite fit like what they're about.
Yeah.
I know that when I first started as a PT, the only PTs that I knew of were the Commando on The Biggest Loser and Shannon and Michelle.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I remember watching that and thinking like, that's not the kind of trainer I'm not any of those personalities.
Yeah.
And for a long time, like I remember feeling like, I felt like I was trying to be like a circle trying to fit into a square.
Yeah.
Did you find like, not relief, but did you find like yourself a bit when you realized, there's this version of being a coach where I can actually really flourish and I've got so much passion when you found MMA?
Yeah, definitely. And I think even within the MMA category of being a coach for MMA, there's like, then branches off of that as well, like some coaches are very like, I will train the best fighters in the world. If you're someone new at the gym, look, welcome, but like I'm focusing on the fighters. Whereas like for my approach to MMA coaching is like I love the idea of giving that person confidence and belief in themselves. So I really like dive into that whole beginner aspect of MMA where like people come into the gym and I want them to see MMA not as a way to like fight, but like a way to learn those skills, but at the same time like develop their own confidence, develop their own skills, develop their own self-belief that outside of the gym they can accomplish whatever they want. Because I feel like MMA gave me that confidence to then quit my job, to then ironically pursue MMA. But, whether that's anything in life, like I've gained confidence from MMA that I've applied in, other tough life decisions and stuff like that. So I feel like MMA as a coach, I'm trying to teach people more about life rather than just at a fight as well. So that's really
for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the really cool things that happens when people join something like a martial art. Like there is like an entire lifestyle component to it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You might first join it thinking I'm just coming in because I want to get fit or maybe I want to learn some self-defense. But you learn all these other things 100% that, start filling up different buckets of your life.
Definitely.
And I've seen the confidence thing. I've heard Alan talk about it in the past, or he's seen, some of the more confident people over time come in as being some of the more shyest people. But once you start, realizing what your body can do, you start realizing, like maybe I can stand a little bit prouder. I can, don't have to be so quiet in my voice or whatever it is.
Exactly. And I work with a lot of people, like both in the group classes and one-on-one lately. And just to like share a bit of a story, like I do one-on-ones with this one guy who comes in each week, and like his goal was to come in and he wanted to walk around the streets feeling, confident in himself and being able to defend himself confidently. And we've had a few sessions now, like a dozen or whatever, and he's told me like I walk around the street with my chest a little bit higher, like my head not so low. And it's like that's the type of experience that I get real reward from. So yeah, it's good.
For sure. And I think sometimes people can come into these places from all different sorts of backgrounds, and some people come in having had maybe really, like some people come in just feeling a bit shy and low confidence, but some people also come in with having had some like maybe shitty life circumstances that have happened to them, which make them feel like less proud or less confident.
Yeah.
And to be able to give that to someone, I think it's awesome, brother.
Yeah, no, it's real good. Yeah.
When you first started becoming an MMA coach, what were some of the experiences that you had with coaches in your past that you really have pulled from or have wanted to recreate and like be able to like pass on to like the people that you get to work with now?
Yeah, definitely. Good question. Like, I think every coach, like, I don't want to just be like a copy of someone else. Like, I don't want to be a copy of Alan and just do what he does. So I have trained at like a few different gyms. Like I said, like I trained in Port Pirie. I've trained at Cardioflex, CCMA. You know, growing up, like I played every sport that there possibly could be. So it's like I've had like a lot of these coach people in my life. So I feel like the things I've drawn from each one, I've drawn in. I've just kind of created like who I am as a coach for sure. So like notable examples would be like, you know, the wisdom and the friendly smile that I guess Alan puts on. Like I really try and, you know, keep that sense going now that I'm teaching a lot of the classes that he taught. And then from other coaches, like my first coach back in Port Pirie, he was like real technical with what he explained and stuff like this. So I really try and, you know, when I am teaching techniques, when I am explaining things to people, I take the time to really go into detail about it with them and not just show them the technique, but understand why that technique is important in this situation and why they can use it and how they use it, rather than just put your left foot here, right leg here type of thing. So yeah, I think just, you know, there's a lot of small little things, just mannerisms, the ways people explain things that, you know, even when I visit gyms now, it's like, oh wow, I've done that technique or that drill like 100 times. I've never heard someone explain it in that quite that way before, but I can take that now and I can, you know, maybe that will help someone else at the gym understand something that, you know, they haven't understood yet because they just haven't been told the right way. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you've had some fight experience now yourself.
Yep.
And I'd love to dig into that.
Yeah, for sure.
What made you want to step in the cage to begin with?
I think definitely like, again, like back to the whole like helping people thing. Like, you know, my goal is to have fights, learn from those fights, get better from those fights. And then when I go back into the gym, it's like I can now pass that experience on to someone else who's having their first fight or maybe their second or third or something like this. Like we have a lot of guys at the moment doing the Element Fight Night camp. Some of these guys have had fights before, maybe it's their second fight, but also a lot of them have never experienced this type of level of training before. So to have those fights behind me now and then be able to like share a bit of wisdom, a bit of insight and a bit of guidance to them is like, I guess, why I had my fights in the first place. And I think as time goes on, like now that I've had a few, you know, at the start it was just about ticking the box and getting that experience. And now that, you know, I've had that experience, I think it's, yeah, my next few fights I'll be trying to, you know, go for the finish and got kind of build my own career from that as well. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess for you, what's the goal like going forward? How do you divide that kind of like time between being a coach and being a fighter yourself?
Yeah, it's a real tricky balance because I don't want to give up my own development as a fighter and then like, you know, sacrifice the amount of effort I can put into everyone else around the gym. So I do find it quite challenging, and it is something that I'm just getting better at each fight camp. Like now that I've done a few, it's like I've just learned, you know, okay, like during this half an hour period, like I'm just devoting all my time to myself, but then like allowing myself in this next hour, like I'm Coach Corey. So when I'm teaching the class from 5:30 to 6:30, I'm present like in coach mode, and I feel like I have gotten a lot better at like just switching that switch when that class ends and I'm going over to join in with the fighters class and drilling and stuff like that. Like now it's like 100% here rather than trying to be like a 50-50, you know, coach, half fighter at the one moment. It's like just really like prepping my mind, I think, to be like, yep, coach mode, fighter mode.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, to anyone who's listening to this and maybe is thinking about like getting into MMA,
yep.
What's like one of the best ways to be able to do it? And maybe let's take from the context of sometimes when people look at MMA, they see it as being pretty like full on.
Yep.
Like a lot of people are scared of fighting. They're scared of confrontation.
Yeah.
What are some things that people should know like going into it?
It's definitely not scary. It is scary looking from the outside in, but I think as we've touched on, like it's that sense of growth that you can get from it. So I think the biggest piece of advice I give people, and a question I always ask them, you know, whether they come in for their first class or a PT for the first time is your why. I think like martial arts is simply just like an outlet for usually a bigger picture. So whether that be like general fitness, confidence, losing weight, like that's why you're doing martial arts, and martial arts just is giving you the ability to get better at those things. So I often ask people like, oh, why are you here? Like, or why do you want to do martial arts? Or why have you thought about doing it? And usually you can dive a little bit deeper into that reason. And then once you know their reason why, you can explain to them, oh, well, this is how martial arts can help you achieve that. And as people know, like when you do come into the gym, 90% of the gym are not there to fight. They're there to get fitter. They're there to just learn the self-defense skills. Like, a lot of the gym's community are not fighters, per se. So I think once you get people in and they realize like there's a lot of people there with the same goals that they have, it's like they find a sense of community, and then that's usually what I think makes people stay doing it, because they are surrounded by people chasing that same goal. So I think like fighting can sometimes be seen as like an individual thing. It's like you coming in, and then like you're not like, when you win or lose, it's only you who gets your hand raised or not raised. So I think when you come in and it's like, cool, maybe my goal is to get fitter, and you're surrounded by people who also want to get fitter, you get a bigger accomplishment, I think. Yeah.
For sure. Now, when people, let's say somebody joins in and they are like amidst the rhythm of going to classes,
Yep.
maybe they've signed up to do some, like a local jiu-jitsu comp,
Yep.
but all of a sudden now they've started thinking to themselves like, maybe I would like to step into the cage.
Yeah.
What's the preparation from just being like a casual hobbyist of MMA to then deciding I want to become, let's say, a fighter?
Yeah. So I guess like technically speaking, the way would be to like obviously communicate that with your coaches and stuff. Like make it aware that is your goal. Again, like your why can always change. So it's like, your why might be for the first 2 years to get fit. All right, cool. Now I'm fit. All right, now I want to fight. So it's like changing that why and communicating. That's probably like the first thing. But in terms of like your own shift from like hobbyist to fighter, I feel like that is quite a shift that some people sometimes aren't prepared for. So I think like preparing for that would involve like realizing that to fight you have to sacrifice a lot. It's like, you're sacrificing your diet. You can't eat out. You can't go to the party on the weekend and drink 100 beers. Realizing that people who don't do martial arts probably aren't going to understand what you're going through, and they're probably going to, sometimes get annoyed that you can't do the things that you would normally do, because they don't know what it's like to be within that gym community, to prepare for something like a fight. Like, it's not just your general go to the gym after work and lift weights. It takes like time, blood, sweat, tears. Some days you don't want to be there, okay? And so I feel like having that mental shift of like self-sacrifice, but then also be aware that the self-gain that you'll gain from making that shift, I feel like much outweighs, never giving it a shot or holding back because, of other people's opinions and stuff. So I feel like as coaches, like that's our goal, to kind of guide people through that, and that's what we're trying to do at the moment with the Element Fight Night guys. Is, every Sunday we do a session just for them, and at the end of that session we actually do some like meditation, guidance type of stuff, to really make them think about that shift and what they're actually committing to for the next 8 weeks. And I feel like after last week's session we got a lot of great feedback from that. So I think just communication between you and your coaches would help a lot with that as well.
What's the identity shift that happens when somebody goes from doing the thing, so doing MMA or any combat sports, to then identifying as a fighter? What was that mind shift? When was the shift that happened for you, and what's the shift that maybe you see happen in the people that you work with?
Good question. I think the shift happens after the first fight. Like, once you've had the fight, it's like, I've done it. Like, I haven't just done the fight camp. I've had the fight. I've done the fight. I've done the hard bit. I've had the fun time. It's done. I am now a fighter. I've had a fight. That's the pinnacle point. Within yourself, for me personally, I can't speak for everyone, but for me personally, I feel like it really changed the way that I just go about my everyday life, and how hard things are. I think like going for a fight is a very like mentally and physically challenging thing. So I feel like everything else in life is now like, you know, just that little bit easier. I feel like, you know, we're trying to lift the ceiling of like how hard we perceive things. If you've never hit the bag before, you come into the gym, you hit the bag, you're probably gonna hate it. It's like hard work. But then like you've hit the bag 100 times. Like my threshold for pain, I guess, is like a little bit higher now. And then every time we do something, it's like a little bit higher. Now I've done my first sparring session. Now when I, you know, stub my toe at home, it's not that bad. Whereas like if I never put my body and mind through that pain, it's like everything's hard, you know. It's like, I dropped something on the floor. My day's ruined. But it's like all those little things just become like obsolete to this pain that I put myself through. And it's like now that when I had that first fight, it's like, all right, now like I've accomplished this huge goal that I had. I've overcome all this fear. I've overcome like all the sparring sessions. And then you have the next fight and you think all those things again. So it was a little bit harder this time. Now I do it again. And it's like, okay, cool. Now everything in life is like a little bit easier because my threshold for how much I can endure and go through and know that I can get through it is like so much higher rather than being all the way down here when it was like when I first was just a hobbyist or something like this. Yeah.
In a fight, people can either physically quit or mentally quit.
Yeah.
Right? At what stage do you see fighters quitting in their preparation to fight? For example, sometimes you might notice that somebody kind of stops trying like as hard as they did at the beginning of a camp in the lead up to it. And then they're just going through the motions. So maybe their giving up point was a bit earlier. Maybe for someone it might be when they realize who they're fighting. Yeah. Right? So from your experience, what have you noticed with people?
I feel like unless you've done the thing, it's very hard to imagine what that thing is like. So I feel like for some people, like it's very easy to watch us fighters do our hard sessions, do our hard rounds and think, oh yeah, like I could do that. And then they give it a go and they realize, oh wow, this is a bit harder than what I thought it was. And that's perfectly fine. Like, you know, that thought goes through my head sometimes of like, oh wow, this is hard. But the thing that I find is like, yeah, people are always eager to want to be the fighter with their hand raised and everyone thanking them and messaging them. But some people realize that it's like, oh, it's like all this hard work to get there is quite challenging, and they're just maybe not mentally ready for that. I feel like it's that mental break rather than that physical break. And I feel like a lot of people start the camp, they do the first few weeks, they realize slowly or maybe quickly that it's like, oh, like when I'm put in that moment with someone on top of me in those hard Shark Tank rounds and someone is hitting me, it's like my fight or flight is run.
How do you combat that feeling of wanting to run?
Recently, I heard something real good that kind of has resonated with me. Like after those hard sparring sessions, a lot of the time the people they're down. They're like, I failed today. Like, you know, I didn't win that round, and it's like, it's not that you failed, it's that you fall, and it's like how easily do you get back up? So I feel like that's a real good quote that I've heard lately. So it's like you're meant to fail. Like our job as a coach is to make you have the worst experience possible in the training, preparing for the fight. That when you get in the fight, no matter what this guy does to you, like you've experienced worse in training, and then in the fight it's easy. It's like if we just let you, oh, like you don't want to come in tonight, no problem. Oh, you've had enough rounds tonight. Oh, just go sit down. It's like when you get in the fight and you are getting beat up, it's like you're just going to give up. You're just going to quit. So it's like, yeah, I feel like that mental shift of trying to realizing it's not quite what they thought it was or quite as easy as they thought is usually the breaking point. And then obviously a lot of the time we have people drop out due to legitimate reasons as well, which is obvious.
So let's touch on that because realistically, every fighter, especially if they've been doing it for a while, they become a professional fighter. Yeah. Like they're going to have injuries. Yeah. Right. Like especially if we're probably doing it right. Like you're doing hard rounds. Like you're taking a lot of damage on your body. For yourself, what is that line that you play with to how hurt you are versus how hurt you're meant to be, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a really good question and applies to me right now. So I was preparing for a fight, which would have been this weekend, 5th of October, but I got concussed. So about 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, in sparring. So there was a week there where it was like, how concussed am I? Am I still fighting, or do I call it now and just not fight? And that was a real challenging thing for me to think about in my mind. And I think the thing that made me, I went and seen like a specialist obviously and stuff like this, and with their help and Alan's help with him experiencing concussions as well, it's like I made that decision of, well, if I do want coaching and fighting to be a long-term thing, it's like, you know, I need to make that sacrifice now to not fight, to make a quick recovery, to then hopefully fight again very soon, rather than have the fight, you know, my last 3 weeks of fight camp are not as good as they could be because I can't train properly, have the fight, get hurt, and then possibly never fight again, you know. So I feel like it is a tough decision because there is a part of your ego that is in there. It's like, oh, you know, I'm a fighter, like I'm meant to fight. So it's like, you know, the right decision should be to fight, and you don't want to obviously look like a bitch. So you want to have that fight, but you know, everyone's supported you, everyone's bought tickets, maybe everyone's, you know, knows that you're fighting, so they're talking to you about it, and then, you know, having to tell everyone that you're not fighting anymore. It's like, yeah, it can be challenging. So I feel like, in terms of like, when does the injury become too much? It's like, well, I think you just got to think about it long term rather than short term, if that's what you want to do long term. At the same time, in saying that though, like, I feel like some people use an injury as an excuse, perhaps, like it's a physical reason. Like I've hurt my knee. I can't fight. Like maybe if they're looking for a way out. But I guess the only thing with that is, you know, deep down you know yourself if that decision was the right decision or not, or if you're using it as a bitch way out. And yeah, usually as a coach you can tell what the real answer is.
For sure.
Yeah.
And are people, from what you've seen, on like extremes of that? You have people who should be quitting who don't quit.
Yeah.
And then you have people who probably shouldn't be quitting that do quit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not saying names, but like, yeah, definitely.
Your people that are like barely put together, that are just dragging themselves to the end of the line and just.
Because usually the people with the serious injuries, like they're still training. They're still like, it's you got to try and make them not train. You know, it's like, well, just like sit down, please. Like, whereas usually it's the other way with the people who are like, oh yeah, no, like, oh no, can't come in tonight, can't come in. It's like, come on, mate. Like, if you wanted to, you know.
And I think sometimes I'm a big believer in, you can train like the discipline muscle, right? And I think the danger with letting small things add up is that it makes it easier to quit whatever it is you're doing. And I think some people don't realize the value of like rocking up to a training session when they don't want to.
Exactly.
And like, if you make promises to yourself, like just building that muscle of like, you commit to yourself and you do the thing you tell yourself, like that makes it in 10 years time infinitely easier to, when you say, I'll do the thing, you just do the thing. Whereas every time you give yourself an out of whatever it is you're doing, you're weakening that muscle. Exactly. And then it becomes easier to, I won't eat what I'm meant to, I won't train at the times that I should have, I can skip today's session because my pinky toe hurts. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And this is something like, especially for the first timers doing Element Fight Night, this is something that we try and emphasize to them of, okay, like, if you're so, like maybe you're really fatigued and really tired because it's the first time you've ever like been in a calorie deficit, maybe you've never trained this many hours per week before and your body's really struggling with it. It's like, okay, that's fine. Like, we understand that we're not trying to break you as such, but we don't want you to get injured. But it's like, okay, if you can't physically train, like, you should still come to the gym. Like, sit on the sidelines, sit on the bike, pedal a little bit, take notes, be around people going through the same thing that you're going through, and like, you're still going to be able to like build a little bit. You might learn one thing that night that like you just observed or overheard or something like this, and you still showed up, rather than like you sat at home, sat on the couch, ate a little bit more food because you felt so shit about yourself, like, and then it's just, yeah, like you said, just a compounding thing of, that just becomes the normal. Yeah, so.
For sure. What are some fighters that maybe have inspired you or that you look up to?
From the UFC, I guess some of my favorite fighters are like Dustin Poirier, Corey Sandhagen. I think they're like some of my favorite fighters to watch, just from their mentality and their technical ability as well. Obviously, like the people I train with is like, I do look up to Alan a lot. He's been a real like guide, I guess, for this whole like my martial arts journey in the last 3 years, and then also guide with, quitting my job and stuff like that. But yeah, to be honest, like I don't really like, even though I'm literally involved in martial arts every second of the day, I personally don't actually really like follow martial arts. Like I don't really watch the UFC. Obviously, like I know, I observe from a distance, but I'm not really like, I think when you're in it, like you don't want to be in it all the time, so you kind of just do your thing.
For sure. I mean, look, brother, you are in that gym a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that. Now, maybe that leads me into the next question, which is, what do you do with your time, or how do you like unwind from like the violence that is MMA all the time?
Yeah. Well, I guess like when I was landscaping, like martial arts was that outlet. Like martial arts was where I went to turn my brain off. But now that martial arts is where my brain's on all the time, I've had to find new ways to do that. So I am a bit of a nerd, so I will like, play video games when I go home, or, I'm really into like trading card games, like collecting Pokemon cards and stuff like that. Like I'll go to the local shop and chat with the guy and see what he's got in the case, and, invest in a card.
Nice.
I think stuff like that, and just having that little like other community, I guess, of like nerd stuff is really cool as well. And a lot of my friends from school are like into that stuff as well. So I guess just trying to, when I do finish the day, I'll go home, I'll watch some anime, or play a video game while I eat my chicken and rice, and that's kind of how I unwind.
Now, with training itself, what should the training of somebody who's trying to follow like an MMA program look like?
Yeah.
Meaning, how do you divide doing your MMA sessions versus your gym sessions versus some type of recovery session?
Yeah.
And maybe within that MMA, landscape, you have your striking versus your grappling.
Yeah.
How would you divide it?
I think how I would do it, and this is something that I've really tried to dial in lately as well. Since my concussion, I've really tried to dial in that whole strength and conditioning stuff, since I can't train contact at the moment. So the way I try and look at it, and this is, again, different for everyone, but you got to do it all at once. We see a lot of people like just do striking, just do the MMA class, right? But you need to be doing like striking, jiu-jitsu, MMA. Like there's a lot of people who would benefit from doing a few jiu-jitsu classes. So I feel like getting a piece of paper, saying to yourself, again, setting these things up, like this is what I'm doing this on this day, I'm doing this on this day, and just kind of like count it up. If you got Monday to Friday, usually the timetable at the gym is pretty evenly spaced out in terms of like how many striking classes, how many jiu-jitsu classes, how many MMA classes we offer. So it's like, okay, Monday I'm doing jiu-jitsu, Tuesday I'm doing striking, maybe Monday I do striking then jiu-jitsu. It's like, just, and then add it up, like, okay, each week I'm doing 5 jiu-jitsu classes, each week I'm doing 5 striking classes, and just making sure that you're getting that equal amount of training in for everything. Because at the end of the day, it's like, all of like, especially the people within my area, are like, we're all beginners in the grand scheme of things. We are not that good. So I feel like you can't neglect like any aspect of it. And then outside of the actual skill development, I think 3 to 4 strength and conditioning sessions. Get yourself a program. Like if you don't know what to do, find a free one online. Like just follow something that you find enjoyable is going to be like long term more rewarding than just trying to like half-ass it and do something random. I think recovery is real good. Like I'm a big fan of ice baths and saunas and massage guns and stuff like that. Like I think just doing like at least once a week is probably pretty good. If you can do more, do more. I'm definitely no expert on it. I just do it because it makes me feel good, and if I feel good, then I'll be keen to train the next day. Yeah, so I think just having like a good balance of everything, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think definitely with all the contact aspect of MMA, like those recovery things, like to be honest, if somebody was just going to the gym, I'm not sure that there is that much extra value to them. But your body's taking so much damage when you're doing contact fighting that anything you can do to be nicer to your body is a plus that allows you to speed up your recovery.
Yeah.
And, the volume's so high when you're doing this and treating it seriously.
Yeah, that's right. And I think as well, like, schedule in time to spend time with your family, spend time with your friends. Like, when you are at the gym, like, every night it can be, like, straining on the people around you and stuff. And sometimes you don't realise that because you're so locked into to getting better. And it's like, say to yourself, every Saturday night I'm going to order a pizza or something like that when you're not in fight camp. But, like, I think just really... Again, like I treat it like yes, it is my job, but like, if it's not your job and you're doing it as like a hobby or doing it, with as well as your 9 to 5, it's like treat it like a job. Like you need good work-life balance. So I feel like treating your MMA journey like work, you're progressively like getting better, getting promotions. It's like, okay, well I need to have that balance outside of this as well. Or you just burn out, and then we see that a lot of the time. Like people come in super keen, super eager, they go balls to the walls, and then in 6 months' time they don't see them anymore. It's like
almost every time, brother.
Yeah,
every time.
like...
the more keen someone is, the more of a red flag.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Now, something that I'm interested in, selfishly, as a question to you, is what are some things that jiu-jitsu people will benefit from doing, like what was maybe some skills that they'll learn from doing striking?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't mean necessarily like if it's a jiu-jitsu guy who butts scoots all the time. I'm not saying like they would do good with learning how to throw a jab. I mean, like, what are some general things that happen in striking that you can then apply to jiu-jitsu that help, and vice versa? What are some things that the strikers would benefit from, doing more grappling?
Yeah, it's a real good question. No one's asked me that before. I think like, technically speaking, like technique-wise, it's like, every jiu-jitsu match still starts on the feet. So I feel like having that like striking gives you that real solid base, that real solid like being able to like move quickly on your feet, transitions well into jiu-jitsu. And then I think a lot of striking guys would benefit from like dealing with like level changes and stuff like this, where like, like a lot of strikers, like they stand up nice and tall, especially like say for like a Muay Thai style, whereas like, in Jiu-Jitsu we're in that more wrestling stance. It's like, just being able to like be deadly everywhere, I guess. So it's like they both complement each other, and it's like if I can do both, like why not? It's like, why would I just do one when I could do both? And then, it doesn't matter, like that fear of like that classic argument of, oh, a jiu-jitsu guy will take down a striker and choke him out, like the striker's got no chance, but then the striker always says, oh, one punch and he's done. And it's like, okay, well, if I just have no fear of where the fight goes, it's like my ability to be confident in that situation goes up dramatically. It's like a lot of the time with takedowns, when we are teaching them in the gym, the biggest thing that we see for people, maybe the help they need to get better, is confidence. It's like if you just shoot with confidence, your chances of taking someone down are so much higher, whereas if you hesitate on it, it's like, oh, well, I'm not sure, now it's defended, now I'm getting punched again. So it's like, I feel like just confidence up, biggest thing, both of them give each other. Yeah.
For sure, brother. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Easy, man, this was great.
That was great, and it encourages me to maybe go and do some striking classes.
Yeah, always welcome.
If people want to follow you, brother, where can they do so?
Instagram's the best one at the moment. So Schutz Corey on Instagram, and I'm really trying to boost that at the moment as well. Kind of giving a lot of like free content and insight into a lot of the stuff that we've talked about today. So that'd be real cool if people could follow me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much.